Well, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us here, the intersection of faith and culture. This is the Meeting House on Faith Radio. And joining me from the band MercyMe, it is Mike, one of the members of the group, as we talk about new music from the band. Now, we've actually been teasing our listeners just a bit, Mike, in that we had Almost Home, which
Yeah.
is on the album called Inhale, Exhale. We had Say I Won't, which is another song off the project. So people have already, at this point in history, heard songs from the Mercy Me record, Inhale, Exhale. But the entire album is out. And Mike from Mercy Me, let me welcome you to the Meeting House here on Faith Radio.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate it, Bob.
Well, let's begin just by talking about this whole recording process,
Yeah.
because this obviously being out in late April, that would necessitate it being recorded quite a while back. So, right in the middle of a pandemic. How is it that a band, not only all the members like yourself, but also all of the engineering people and the studio people and everything, how does that all work during a COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah. Well, we about the time Almost Home came out, which has been a minute, you've been playing it.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the first single for this record, and the record was supposed to come out in the fall of 2019, which didn't happen because we weren't really ready to make a record yet. We knew we were supposed to be on, the basic timeline, but we just weren't emotionally ready. We had just enjoyed, this last couple of years of the movie coming out and all that went with that. And it was a great season. We just weren't really ready to move on yet. And then 2020 hit, and we had been touring heavily and having a great time on the road. Our crew, we kind of built the best crew we've ever had around us. Everything had been great, firing on all cylinders. Then 2020 happened to everybody, and we had a lot of free time on our hands and needed to. We knew we needed to make a record, and it was a great distraction in that we couldn't go out and play shows. It was a great way to still have that creative outlet, but also to keep us from going insane and to get us out of the house so that our wives didn't kill us. And we were fortunate, like you said, about having the ability to work with all that many people, because it is more than just the five of us in the band in here. We've got producers, we've got engineers, and some of our crew guys that live locally will come help out as well and doing different things. And we were fortunate enough that 2 years ago, we actually bought this place, this cabin. It's just south of Nashville where we all live, and it was an absolute godsend to have our own space. There were a lot of studios that had to shut down during quarantine and when nobody knew what in the world was going on, just for safety's sake. And this place allowed us to kind of set our own safety parameters. Some of our producers, one of our producers is immune compromised. Some of the guys have family members who are immune compromised. So we wanted to be cautious, but we knew that we could be cautious and still get together and work if we did it smart. And this place allowed for that. It also allowed for us to not have a time limit on, how well we got 4 hours in the studio today. We got to hustle and then get out of here so the next band can come in. We had our own space. We could stay set up. We could, come in early, stay late, whatever it looked like. And it really allowed for the record to kind of really breathe and become something that would not have been otherwise.
Mike from MercyMe joining us today here on the Meeting House on Faith Radio. A little bit of an aside here. Mike, you and the band were featured in a little movie that came out not too long ago. You referred to it, so I want to go there. I want to go there for just a moment, because actually, after my wife and I had lunch on Easter Sunday, sat down, kind of crashed in a chair in our den and turned on the television, and there was I Can Only Imagine. The
Oh,
movie
no
was
kidding.
actually on Easter Sunday this
That's
year.
awesome.
And of course, knowing that you and I were going to have this conversation, I was kind of curious. You mentioned the impact of the movie on the band, or you alluded to it just a bit.
Mhm.
Give me an idea. How does something like that, how did that experience actually impact the band
Yeah.
and its ministry? And then I'm going to follow up real quick, and then we'll jump back into the album.
Yeah. It was really fun. I think that at this point in our career, we've seen more than I ever would have dreamed that we would have seen as far as career highlights. And so for a movie to come along, it actually takes like 8 years to make a movie. It takes forever. So this really lovely lady came to Bart 8 years ago saying, "I'd really want to tell your story in a film." And he was like, "Yeah, sure thing, whatever." Not really expecting anything to come of it. But every year she'd come back. I'm a little closer. We're a little closer. We're a little closer. And then all of a sudden, the Irwin brothers signed on, and it was like it got kicked into high gear, and everything really started happening. And so, at this point in our career, though, we've seen so much that as exciting as it was, I was able to kind of step back and really enjoy it. Like when Imagine the song blew up the first time, we were kids. Like we were so young, and everything was new, and I didn't know to enjoy it at the time. I was just like, we got to do this really well, instead of we got to do this really well. And how awesome is this? Like, this is such a great thing to get to be a part of. With the movie, I feel like we handled that part of it a lot better, and really were able to just be grateful for all of it. Like, who gets to do that? It's such an awesome thing, and such a way to honor the song, and then not just the song, but the story behind the song. Bart to be able to honor his dad's memory, and then the ministry side of it. That song took on a whole new meaning to a lot of people when they saw where the song was birthed from. That it was from a broken relationship between a father and son, an abusive relationship, and then how Jesus healed that, and then how when his father passed away, all Bart could do was like, man, what it's got to be like for him now. And so just the emails we would receive, the stories in person of people who reconciled with their fathers, or forgave their fathers, or fathers who begged forgiveness from their sons for just, the mistakes that we all make as parents sometimes. So yeah, it was really cool. It was a really beautiful thing to get to be a part of.
So how would you evaluate the performance of the gentleman who played you in the movie? The band did not play themselves, right?
No, gosh, could you imagine? No, we are not actors.
Cannot only imagine that.
I have a hard time acting like a guitar player, let alone actually. Yeah. No, I thought he was great. Jason, I met him a couple times, and we talked on the phone before the film. No, he's a super nice guy. He's a lot better looking than I am, so I was honored that he was playing me.
All right. Mike from MercyMe joining us today. There's a brand new MercyMe album out. It is called Inhale, Exhale. All right. A very unique, creative title. Tell me just a bit about it.
Yeah. So, like I said, the album, we worked on it for about 2 years, and throughout the process, it took on probably 4 different name title ideas and thematic ideas. For a minute, it was going to be called Spaceman, which is why there's an astronaut in the Almost Home video, which was going to be the whole mentality of we're not of this world. We're just passing through. This is not our home. But then when 2020 happened, it was kind of a big reset, and it seemed like for us, we needed to just inhale goodness and exhale all of that, whatever happened to it, to the whole world. And we kind of felt like that was what it was going to be for everybody, just a chance to remember to breathe in truth, and where our hope comes from is not our situation, our circumstances, or whether or not our entire industry was canceled because of because of a pandemic. And so yeah, it just kind of, it was a reset for us, and it was a good way to kind of get that out of our souls and hopefully share it with others, and they would be encouraged as well.
Musically, you've got a song that leads off the album called Inhale, and a song that closes the album called Exhale. Tell me just a bit about what you're doing there with the concept musically.
It was just to kind of bookend the whole concept of everybody just taking a break and resting from what we all went through. Nobody can say that 2020 didn't affect everybody. There were certainly silver linings, but it was hard on everybody. And so for us to just make an album that didn't highlight that and point out that, yeah, we get it, this was horrible, but our hope isn't in this horrible thing that happens. Our hope isn't in our situation or our comfort or or whatever was taken away from us in 2020. So yeah, just that concept, we thought it would be really cool to bookend it with just thematically and lyrically to kind of draw people in to what that is.
New MercyMe record is out called Inhale, Exhale. Mike from MercyMe joining us today here on the program. Song we've been featuring here on Faith Radio called Say I Won't is actually included in the project. So tell me just a bit about what you wanted to communicate with that tune.
Yeah, Say I Won't. About a year ago, that song kind of started to be written. Bart and one of our producers on the project, he brought the music to him, and Bart had this idea of writing a song that was just a reminder that we can do all things through Christ who gives us strength. And we don't think that that's I can slam dunk a basketball because of Jesus. We think that it's when Paul said that, he was saying, I can endure prison, I can endure shipwrecks, I can endure beatings because of Christ. And so we wanted to write that song as an encouragement to people to live at their absolute fullest, even in the midst of their circumstances. And when the song was probably about halfway done production wise, we got word that a good buddy of ours on New Year's Eve of 2019, and I say good buddy, like he was our first merch guy. He was a horrible merch guy, but we loved him so much we kept him around forever because we just love him. He and I were roommates. I think he was in Robbie's wedding. Like we go way back with Gary. And we got word that he had been admitted to the hospital, was in a coma. Then all of a sudden we get word that he's actually passed away on the table, and they had to resuscitate him. He was dead for like 7 minutes. They brought him back. He was in a coma for weeks and weeks and weeks, and woke up to the news that he was going to be a quad amputee. They were going to have to take all 4 of his limbs. And he and his wife have 4 kids, 3 young boys that are 7, 8, and 11, I believe, and then a daughter that they had just adopted probably 2 years before from the country of Colombia. So they're an amazing family. And then they get this kind of news. Granted, this is in the middle of 2020, so not only is there's global pandemic and everything else, they also are going through all him having to learn how to drink water without hands. And his attitude through it is the attitude I hope I could have in my darkest days of, man, God could have not taken anything from me. God could have literally not let me get off that table, but this is my situation. He's got purpose in it. What's that purpose, and how do I serve him through it? And he's unbelievable. His attitude is unbelievable. He can joke about it and make fun of it, and not make light of it, but really just make fun of it. And so the song, it's honestly is as if God had us writing this for Gary's situation to be able to tell his story, because God's going to use Gary and Kelly in an amazing way, and already is. People have already been able to reach out to him, veterans who have lost limbs. They've connected with him and just like, how are you getting through this? How do you do this with such a good attitude? And it's been awesome. It's been awesome for him to have a purpose in it and everything. So we love that the song has taken on a different life than we thought when we started it.
Very good. Mike from MercyMe joining us, mercyme.org. New record is Inhale, Exhale. Thanks for spending some time with us today here on the Meeting House on Faith Radio.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bob.